Hey guys, it is Nolan Walker here with Roofers Paradise, joined by Joel of TrueWorks Roofing out of Houston, Texas. Hey there, Joel.
Nolan, how's it going, man? Super happy to be here. This is going to be fun. Let's
Yeah,
talk business and roofing.
appreciate it, man. So Joel's a client of ours and with Roofing Webmasters but I like this format for Roofers Paradise because we get to talk about. I like to do an entrepreneurial spin on it. In fact, we were talking about, Joel, how you done hospitality to get started, but I talked to people in all walks of life that get into roofing, and I think they get into roofing because they see money there. They're like, hey, if I do roofing, maybe I can get my dreams to happen faster. So yeah, share with me if you don't mind, like kind of how you got started, because you had talked about uh, how you'd been in, I think you said bars, restaurants, fine dining is what you told me.
Yeah, sure. So, first job ever. I guess I had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit about me because when I was probably 11 or 12, I started my first company.
Yeah.
My buddy and I would go around. We printed out the stencils for address signs,
Oh
and we
yeah.
would go knock door to door, painting new address signs on people's curbs.
Pretty
We had a
young.
whole
Yeah.
yeah, we had a whole pitch. Then we started doing mailboxes too. We would do like 2 for 1 and started giving them deals and everything.
Right.
Come home with $60 in my pocket, which this is decades
That's pretty
ago.
cool. So were you able to paint a curb at 11 years old?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We painted
Yeah.
it was a good looking curb. Our first mailbox we attempted didn't go so well. So, but we got better after that. But anyway, but yeah, mowed lawns. Then let's see, snow cone stand. When I was 15, HEB was my first job, probably the day I turned 16, and
Got
then
a job at HEB.
yeah, and then got into restaurant business and, just working my way kind of through community college and everything. Was on my own at that point. And so, kind of got to experience all that entails as far as just from a customer service standpoint. Every customer is different. You start really learning how to read people, their emotional cues, meet them kind of where they are. Your pitch is really catered and different to every single person. And if they come in multiple times, it's every single person depending on kind of the mood they're in. So it really starts to teach you a lot that I think has helped me in business, years later, to the point where, when we're looking for employees now at TrueWorks, I mean, once I see that they've had server or bartender experience, they really go to the top of the list for me because they've had years of training that they don't really know the value of yet, I find. And it's just about relating to people, looking them in their eye, laughing at their dumb joke, being witty on the spot, all those kinds of things that,
So
just come natural.
Did you own a restaurant? Did you own a restaurant or?
Yeah, I was general manager of several restaurants. And so to kind of the full storyline basically is I started out at a Italian restaurant. Then I worked fine dining seafood. I moved for a little bit when I was trying to kind of find myself in my young 20s. I moved to Atlanta and I worked at a fine dining restaurant there. Got to wait on celebrities and stuff, Ted Turner and Whitney Houston. I mean, there was a
That's pretty
wide,
cool. That's
yeah,
cool,
yeah,
though.
it was fun. It was fun. A wide range of celebrities, and I learned there the really elevated steps of service that
So this was like a Michelin star type restaurant.
it was
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, in all kinds of magazines and things like that. It was a very well-known restaurant at the time. And so then I moved back to Houston and I got into more of a casual like bar restaurant environment. And what I was able to do was implement those really high-end steps of service from fine dining into that environment. So
Right.
we did a lot of cool things that were like outside the box. What I saw from the kind of bar industry was you're waiting in line for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Hey, look at me. I'm over here. And it's like you're begging them for the product that they are selling. And it
Right.
just kind of was a little backwards to me. So basically, we started doing a lot of just really off the wall things. We would, obviously we call every customer by their name. Every single person in our place knew every single person who ever came in's name after their second time. We made it a point to memorize everyone's name, but also like what they drank. So I would station one person at the door. They would, soon as somebody would pull up into the parking lot, they would order it. And I would have someone, the second they open the door, and this is like their second time to ever come in. They open the door and there'd be like a cute girl there with a big smile with their drink. And the expression, the look on people's face of shock and like just blown away that someone remembered their name, remembered what they drank, took the time to, it was so.
This sounds like a Tom Cruise movie or something, like Cocktails or something in Houston, Texas.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. But that, lesson, really what we were trying to do there, what I really learned, we became wildly successful, and I took over another place as kind of a consultant and was able to scale some different companies from kind of a break-even point to increase the revenue by several $1 million and put a lot of money in the company's net. So the lesson really there is just that it's real simple. I mean, everybody likes to be VIP, and it turns out that, especially like blue collar guys and gals,
I got a question for you, not to derail it, but I'm curious.
No, go for it.
So all that success in restaurant business, taking something to that level, can you make more money in roofing? Or were those restaurants making money? And let's take away Michelin star stuff, but like that place in Houston, that make as much money as a roofing business?
Yeah, I mean, you probably can't. They're very profitable. It's like anything. I mean, just like roofing, it's extremely competitive. You probably can't scale it quite as large.
Probably glad you weren't in that business in 2022, right? You weren't,
very much so. And so, yeah, a lot of restaurants closed. A lot of friends of mine who owned restaurants and different venues.
Here we are headed towards what people are claiming we're going to have some sort of economic calamity, and nobody really knows what it's going to be. I had to look up what stagflation was, I don't think I'm 49, but I remember my parents complaining about energy crisis, but I don't remember feeling the economy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we are I work with roofers, you're a roofer, but you don't worry about things as much in roofing, do you? As far as economic problems, are you worried if there's an economic problem? Like if you own a restaurant that's fine dining, you're shaking in your boots probably, right? A little bit.
Well, it goes
in a roofing business. Are you shaking in your boots?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it goes, you start to, during hard economic times, you start to look at your budget. You may cut back on certain things. I mean, my wife and I, not even hard economic times, we just bought a house. And so we had to relook at our budget. And one of the things that we just noticed, okay, well, let's go out and eat. We noticed we weren't quite going to have enough money at the end of the month to save what we wanted to save. And so pretty simple. All right, well, we're spending this much. One thing we clearly saw was we're spending this much going out to eat. We're going to cut that back. But there are other things like that are a little bit, you would consider kind of, you're doing well, convenient luxury items or things that aren't a necessity in life, which to your point, I mean, a roof is. When you have a roof leak or you have an old roof or a failing roof, you really don't have a choice. It really doesn't matter what the economic times are. You got to figure out a way to get that done. So
I have a question on that. Do you think that economic times change? Like I know that in 2020, people worked on their homes, did additions, and there's just, and I don't know, I think maybe it's slowed down a little bit from all that from 2020, right? Like this year slowed down just a tad because I talk to roofers all the time. But does economic times change the amount of roofs that are done? And besides the fact that homes are being built, which most of you guys aren't doing new home construction roofs anyway. but I don't think it does much. Like you know, you're in Houston, so the roofs, even if there's not a storm, they're getting a lot of use from the weather, right? You got a lot of dampness, a lot of rain. You have every once in a while you have wind damage, but you haven't had that in a while, have you?
We get little storms that blow through, little wind pocket here or there, a small hailstorm or something like that. But a lot of it is retail. It's just failing roofing systems due to the climate, the age of the roofs, poor ventilation, a lot of other issues. But to your point, we keep building more and more homes. At some point, those homes are going to be 15 to 20 years old, and those roofing systems are going to. And we kind of always say, to your point about new construction, we don't do that. Most new construction, companies, they won't pay us what a homeowner would pay us. Right. And so they're always going for really the cheapest bottom line, cheapest margin, cheapest labor, et cetera. So that's why we kind of call it builder grade. Even in a nice subdivision with 300 to 500K homes, it's definitely builder grade. We would call it's not the roofing system to the quality we would put up, and it's kind of why we'll always have a job. So that's not going to change. And so
good thing at the end of the day. And I don't want to pull you off that track too much, because I do. We talked yesterday just a little bit. I believe that you do more than most people do. I hear lip service out of a lot of people, and it's fine. It doesn't mean they're bad roofers or anything, but I deal with the better quality roofers as a whole. But most people are saying things to me like, I saw a need in the marketplace for an honest person, or I saw these people that were horrible and I brought my company, and their companies may be better, but they're not a charlatan or a cheat, and they're doing a pretty good job, but they're not taking. There's a couple of things that you do different. One of them is your hospitality business is better. You do better customer service. You do have more reviews and higher reviews. And so there are some things. You told me there's some stuff that you do that y'all just do that to catch someone, kind of like the drink where you had their drink in their hand. You do some wow factor things that are above and beyond customer service for the roofing. If you don't mind sharing, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, of course. So, just like with the drink, the idea, I think people are a little bit lazy when it comes to business, as far as being creative and trying to think of different ways to do things. There's definitely always the kind of mentality, if it's not broke, don't fix it type thing. If you've been in the restaurant business, you go open a restaurant, you pretty much run it the same way. If you've been in the roofing business, you go open a roofing company, you pretty much run it the same way you learned. And there's not a lot of brainstorming of, okay, let's be the Netflix to all the blockbusters, or how are we going to do things to really differentiate and completely be different? So we really want to do that in every aspect that we possibly can, from the incoming phone call on. But to what you're kind of speaking of, we go for the real wow factor. I stole a little page, Mattress Mac. He is a Houston legend and icon. Opened
those mattresses.
Yeah, I mean, this guy opened a mattress store, and he's one of the most famous figures in Houston. And it's just because of. So when they deliver furniture, it'll have a card on there that'll say, is there anything else we can do? And they'll list these things. Some of them have nothing to do with furniture. And like one of them will be mow your lawn. I mean, it's extremely over the top, very wow factor type.
But they'll mow the lawn. They would mow the lawn.
Yeah, for sure. And so we started really, we really implemented that into our company. So we call it our thoughtful cherry on top of every deal. So we just try to do fun, creative things. It's really about listening to the client, observing their needs. Maybe it's a dog toy for their dog. We've done a client there was a lot of mosquitoes. We sprayed the yard, we've mowed a lawn to that point. We've done a car detail, mobile car detail. We have painted a mailbox, going back to my old roots, painted a mailbox and put a new address on it. It's things.
I love this idea. You know who does this? Real estate agents do this. So
that's right.
They'll think about the individual. I got a knife. I got a great real estate agent. I love the guy. I've used him forever. named Jim Hall out of Fort Worth. He's a great guy. And he bought me one of those, I can't remember. I watched that show about, what was that, Forged in Fire show on Netflix, but what's the type of blade that's all molded, got tons of, can't remember the type of steel. It's like, but anyway, he bought me this really expensive knife, super sharp. And then the time before that, he bought us a cutting board that had our last name on it, the like carved out of the cutting board. But he thinks about us and gives us a personalized gift. I mean, he most of the time when he works with us, he probably makes like $50,000 or something, so he does something nice for us every time.
I mean, that's it. They're paying it. You're right. Real estate agents are the good ones. That's what they're really good at: paying attention, listening for little cues, for wow moments that you can kind of deliver later on in the customer experience that leave that lasting impression. So it's just about making people say, looking out the window and saying, oh my gosh, what's this roofing company doing washing our car? What's this roofing company doing painting our mailbox? And it's just such an impactful memory, lasting kind of story and feeling. It really, tugs on the heartstring. It's
those,
good stuff.
It
is, man. It's good stuff.
Stuff.
They deserve it. That's what it really is. They deserve it. They're spending a lot of money. They have a lot of choices. They have a lot of options. And we're talking little $10 to $50 things, but it's more the thought. And it kind of just shows, going above and beyond. And it really creates and instills in our company that feeling as, a culture and kind of how we operate and how we do things. You start explaining that to new people who come on, they really start to get, okay, this is different. We go above and beyond always. And, even above and beyond the expectations, for instance. So it's something fun that we have a lot of fun with. We run contests for that. Who has the most thoughtful, because we run cool contests.
How much flair do you have? That's office space.
37 pieces of flair
here, Joel.
But if you run, so you want to run contests that are fun. You want to make everything fun, make it a good game, but you want to run your contests that are going to incentivize the results, the culture that you're really trying to achieve and draw out. So you'll run a
contest for cultural stuff, not necessarily just the raw sales.
Exactly.
You feel like you get more sales by doing it that way, probably.
1,000%. So, you run a contest for sales, you got to get cutthroat, people looking at a client as a deal instead of a human being, and as a paycheck.
If everybody got the same gift, it removes that personal aspect of it, and everything eventually just kind of gets corporate-y. And I would assume you get more referrals because of this stuff.
100%. Yes, sir. Yeah. I think it helps a lot when you look at our reviews, when you look at our referrals. Our reviews are not just 5 stars. They are typically paragraph after paragraph, pages of people like. That's
good content. I love that content.
And then we get a lot of jobs, obviously, because of that. People always tell us, I just was reading through your reviews and just the comments, the links that people go to really explain their appreciation, ends up landing us many more deals. So it's great.
Nolan Walker here with Roofers Paradise. I'd like you to consider being a guest. If you've got a great story to tell for your roofing company, you don't have to be a client of Roofing Webmasters. We'll have you on the show. Check us out at roofersparadise.show. Shoot us an email, or you can call us from the phone number you'll find on roofingwebmasters.com. But I'd love to hear from you and maybe have you as a guest on Roofers Paradise. Joel, you've been good about branding your company. I don't think that people really realize this part of it. I know that they missed the boat on this. I believe that all of life, I've gotten so specialized in my thought process about marketing, and we can't do everything, but most of us could do more than a lot more than we do. Even these podcasts that you and I are doing now. Just putting ourselves out there, trying to get there. But when someone really realizes that all digital signals gets interpreted by really the AI algorithm of Google at this point. It's literally taken a mind of its own. They say, I don't know if you read some of that stuff, but
Yeah,
that
it's
algorithm,
sentient now.
yeah, that's what they're saying. They fired the guys. You probably read the same thing I did. Fired some guys like, that thing's alive, man, and they're like, oh, you're fired. But they don't understand that they're caching all this data, every bit of it, and checking things. And someone is pushed before, and I probably say this in a negative way. I don't necessarily mean it negative, but I look at, and I think that most of us business people can agree that post 2020, you view all data as propaganda. And when you realize that all data is propaganda, at very least, it's a controlled narrative to someone's perspective. And when you realize that fully, you're like, okay, well, if that's the case, if all data changes belief systems and everything comes at you, whether it's a podcast, a video, a website and content or reviews or comments on reviews or, pins or whatever it is, if all that is what that is, then I'm the guy that is supposed to run this ship for my narrative. And then people throw stuff up there, and I get calls from people in marketing all the time, and they've done nothing. They've done nothing. Well, I'm going to get a website up. I'm like, I don't think that's enough. It's like, and then, or people will get angry at it. They'll get angry at that stuff. But you've done a good job of not only that and some other stuff I didn't even tell you I was going to talk about. I think I told you this once before. It's very difficult to come up with a new name that hasn't been used before. TrueWorks just sounds good. How long did it take you to settle on that name and to find it? Did you work on that for a long time, or did it?
Yeah, we did. We worked on that. We had pages of different names, going back to kind of what I mentioned, everybody sometimes get a little lazy and they just kind of copy and paste when it comes to opening a new business. And we just knew we couldn't do that. You see that in the example of roofing companies. For instance, it's usually like some initials, my initials. I mean, most people would have opened JBP's Roofing, and the logo is the little house on top of it. And it's just JBP's Roofing with the little house on it. It's just not memorable. It's not impactful. It doesn't make any kind of emotional connection with anyone. It's not telling a story about who you are, to kind of what you were speaking about.
And it's not a brand very well. Now JB, depends on how, if it's Patzke or something. But if it's an initials or something, it's hard to build a brand around it. And so when the name is unique and doesn't sound too weird, or it's not a phrase like H-Town Roofing. I mean, H-Town may be okay, but you could come up with some that they're not really a brand, right? And so you have a different enough name that's not used before. And when the algorithm sees it out there in the ether and it's floating around and they're grabbing pieces of data, which they are, they're like, oh, that's, and they don't guess, is that Joel? No, that's Joel. That's his brand. So people miss that part of it too. So, and I don't know if you thought that far down the road, but when you have a topically relevant brand that matches user intent, which all that means is it has the word roofing next to a unique word. And TrueWorks is a word you made up, right? Yeah, definitely.
So, it's interesting. I'm always thinking about the customer and how they'll see us and perceive us. You're thinking about Google, but they can correlate, right? So
they do.
Yeah, so we wanted a name.
All these concepts correlate. This branding and all this stuff correlates into the web, and stuff gets grabbed, but it all feeds on each other. And you're talking about making things different. But I have a comment about that. But go ahead. I want to make a comment about the difference of it.
Sure. Go for it.
Probably, in my opinion. So I don't know how many roofers there are in Houston. Let's call it 4,000, 5,000 roofers. I've heard there's like 8,000 in Dallas Fort Worth. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, because if you look at SIC codes, the government, there's about 100,000 roofers or something. I remember when I first started doing marketing for roofers 12 years ago, there's like 50,000 or 60,000 or something. I do think there's more now. But the amount of people that fight for anything is really low. And I think that I find it really interesting when you think about a company like you're now a company. You can listen to different people's versions of what a company is, like Robert Kiyosaki or this guy or that guy. But I don't think because somebody has a Texas State Corporation or some Oklahoma or wherever, that just because it says they're a company, they're a company. A lot of times they're just a general contractor, or they graduate up, subcontractor, graduate to general contractor or sole proprietor. Most businesses operate like a sole proprietor, even if they're incorporated, right?
Sure.
And so out of the 100,000 roofers, because I talk to people all the time, I'll bet you, in my opinion, about 2% of them are competition, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because you go into a market and you start talking about building a brand, and people just aren't competitive because they don't do anything, they're like, well, I've done everything. It's like, no, I already have a website, or I have this. Is like, no, Joel over there in Houston's bust and hump going on podcasts and getting the word out, doing unique stuff, and like working his butt off and garnering better reviews and more of them, and people that care to write more, and doing all kinds of little things that are like tipping the scale in his direction. And it's not happenstance. You fought for it. And then I talk to people and they're like, oh, I can't do it. The attitude is I can't do it. And I'm like, and honestly, I don't think any of those people even watch this stuff like this. Like those guys don't even spend the time listening to this podcast,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's really two ways to do things. I mean, you go in with all your heart trying to be the best, or you don't. So, I got into roofing, and it was kind of a in-between jobs thing at the time. And I was just doing sales for a company, and I was like, there's no way you go like knock on a door and sell a roof. I couldn't believe it. And then I started being really successful. And, I remember coming home and telling Laura, I was like, babe, I made like 10K today, and just so, and I was like,
knocking doors, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. And we were doing, I mean, zero of anything we do at TrueWorks as far as like, the branding, the marketing, a lot of the customer service steps, a lot of those things. I mean, it was just hustle and door knocking and closing tactics and things like that. And, I couldn't, I tried to make a lot of difference and impact in that, in the companies I was with, and felt like I couldn't make inroad. There was that comment a lot, like, man, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I was just like, oh, that drives me crazy, because I want to be innovating and constantly brainstorming on how we can do something better all the time to provide a better customer experience, to, dominate our competition, to stand out, to be memorable. And so we started our own company, Laura and I did, in 2020. And it really was, the roofing industry is, I think what we really saw is that kind of what you're speaking about. The roofing industry, I think, is about 5 to 6 years behind several other industries when it comes to marketing, when it comes to, like when it comes to customer service, when it comes to some technologies, systems and processes, things like that. Some of the other companies I've been in, I mean, we're no CRM. I mean, still using a manila folder and, your filing cabinet and being unorganized.
I gotta tell you what it has to deal with, in my opinion. It's hard labor workers and salespeople. Those are incorrigible people to work with a lot of times. And it's difficult to push and manage a business well for a lot of people in that. You can do it, but typically in a small business person can make a fortune doing that well. But typically they're not like, that's why you don't see somebody with 100 locations, because of the incorrigible nature of people that do hard labor or sell. Sure. And so that's why there's franchises. Like I'll get people go, oh, I know such and such. And I actually had a podcast not too long ago. It guys like, oh, I know a guy that could quit and not work for a year and his business would run. And I'm like, I'd like to hear who it is. And after the podcast, I realized that the guy who's talking about owns a franchise in contracting, not a roofer. But I don't know of anybody running like even 5 locations properly, unless it's maybe commercial. But who's to say? We don't know how much Tech to America makes, some of these people are private. So I was like, maybe there's a couple of them that do it with larger ticket items, but no, it's tougher to run these smaller businesses, but if you can run them well, they're very, very profitable. And I think that's why people move into roofing and try to find their niche and find out how they're going to run it. And I was going to bring up too that so few people fight, and you're doing better all the time. But I mean, Joel's fighting his way into one of the biggest markets there is. Houston's in top 5 markets, I'm going to say, because of the coast and the size. I mean, if you had to pick the top 2 up front, I'm going to say Dallas, Fort Worth, where I live.
Yep.
Number 1, because of Cullen County and all the population and hail every year, no matter what. And then you have Denver, that just has a lot of stress on the weather and roofs. But Denver's not as big, but it's very, very competitive. But I think people like to move to Denver. And after that, I would probably, and I might even put Florida first, but Florida all up and down, all up and down. But Houston's in that top 5, and Houston just has a lot of stress. Houston hasn't had a horrible storm in a while, but the roofs still get just demolished from just the weather that you do have, right? Just don't y'all have mold and rain and all kinds of stuff hitting those roofs? Nolan Walker here for Data Pins. You may not know, but I own a software company, and we have a proprietary software called Data Pins, DATAPINS. You can search it at datapins.com. This is not white labeled. I actually own this piece of software, and I made it for you. It was made for contractors. You can actually take pictures of jobs, up to 6, make a caption about the material, the brand, the situation, the repairs, and post that back to your individual pages on your website, just like that. It's super simple. Anyone could use it. It also texts and emails your clients direct links to your reviews, so it helps reputation and reviews, which helps conversion and map placement. The geo coordinate gets grabbed by Data Pins, and Google can tell where you are. So instead of them just seeing reviews, they see all jobs or even estimates that you do. This vastly outperforms just getting reviews. Helps the map show up, helps organic keywords. And remember, those captions that you're putting in there help expand the keywords per page, and it's great regular content. I love it. We made it just for you. It is organic optimization on steroids for both your website, your rankings, and the map placement. Check out Data Pins. I think you'll be happy you did. How long does the roof last in Houston compared to somewhere else, by the way, that doesn't get?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I don't have roofing experience in many other cities. So, the heat is brutal here. The climate's brutal. The humidity is brutal. It takes its toll on anything. We have a lot of roofers here, I notice, which is odd because of how hot it gets and how humid it is, but they don't understand ventilation and the science of ventilation.
So they're closing off the attic space type stuff, or are they closing off the ridge vents and stuff, or what are you talking about?
Not usually that. They make other mistakes, so they'll do ridge vent, and then right underneath that, they'll add some air hawks or like box vents. And it's kind of, they're thinking more is more, but in reality, they're turning. So we're getting a little roofer technical here.
No, that's all right.
If roofers listen to this, they'll understand. But you talk to any of the ventilation experts, the science kind of behind it. You turn those box vents right underneath the ridge, kind of into intake vents, and they go up a foot out the ridge, and you're leaving all that attic space from being vented. There's a lot of other things like, they don't do a proper attic inspection. Many of the roofers here to check their soffit vents to make sure that their intake is working properly. I mean, there's a simple formula to figure out if you have enough net-free area of ventilation for your attic space, and then you divide it by 2, 50% intake, 50% outtake. And then you really have to check that soffit to make sure. We see all the time it's painted over, if it's screens or there's insulation covering it. They're getting no insulation. I mean, no airflow coming in, right, because insulation's blocking it. All kinds of things.
They're literally causing a health hazard for the occupants of the home.
That happens as well. It does cause mold and other things. If it has too much intake and not enough outtake, you're going to get stale, stagnant, humid air just sitting in your attic. It can cause mold and things. So yeah, we see 70 to 80% of the homes in Houston underventilated, which is tragic because of how hot it is and it has a tremendous impact on how long the shingles will last. So
it does. Okay. So
yeah.
electric, yeah, everything from mold to electricity usage to how long the shingle's going to last.
Yeah, to how long your HVAC's going to last as well, because it's having to work a lot harder. So
True.
it's really important. And, we get a lot of deals because 3 roofers will come over and we will be the only company that checked the attic, inspected the attic,
Even
and
discusses it.
And talk to the client about ventilation and the science behind it, and addressed their ventilation as an issue. And they were, several roofers didn't even come to the house. So they're pulling satellite measurements, sending out ballpark bids, probably with the intention of doing a change order once they get to the house and encounter things, coming in low with the understanding that they'll hit them with a change order once they got the contract, and it's a little bit of a tactic.
So you don't believe in a over the phone bid?
Oh, we would never. Your home is unique. We need to go do a thorough inspection. We need to inspect every detail of the attic. We need to address ventilation. There's so many little valleys and cornice returns and flashings and the shape, the condition of your decking underneath. We want to assess and address, because we really want to, sometimes change order is a necessity. There's literally some things you cannot know until you tear everything off, but we want to minimize the use of change orders as much as possible by doing a thorough inspection and giving a to the penny quote specifically for that roof. And when I mean to the penny, I mean it comes in 53 cents, and that's how we send our estimates out.
I just signed up a new client that is set up, and I haven't done many of these, but his is very specifically over the phone quotes, and he does do change orders when he goes out after he inspects it, but that quote occurs over the phone, everything goes out. And
that's, I'm not saying anything bad about him. I mean, and he could be a great guy running a great business. I'm not,
this is an interesting conversation though about it, at least. I mean, but people, I will tell you that, like, when you're passionate about what you do and you fight to do the best job you can, and you talk about stuff like ventilation in the attic, and you talk to a client about that sort of stuff, you definitely make more sales on that stuff. So I care about my business, and I do as much as I can. I was upset about something that happened earlier in my business, and we're changing some policy, and I'm passionate about it. I'm not in here just stomping around yelling about it. I'm upset because something went wrong. I'm like, hey, that can't happen ever again. That's like the second time that's happened. That can't happen again. And so we're changing up some policy, but I care about it. And then we discuss more stuff with clients, and it literally helps make sales. People don't understand that either. Is like, that's part of the problem with sales. I don't know. So you feel like these hospitality sales people do a better job of caring about the client when you train them properly for stuff like this?
1000%.
Really?
We would for sales specifically, we would never hire someone with roofing sales experience.
Really?
Yeah, no. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say absolutely never, but we never have. We typically, I want people who are hungry and have hospitality and bartending experience. They know how to read people. They know how to talk to people. I'd
be stereotyping that bartender all day long if they came into my, I don't know if I'd have great thoughts come to my head if a bartender walks in the door.
You would never know it. I mean, these are clean cut.
Yeah.
They're dressed in polos with an iPad, very well educated. Our training is, we take months to train. So it was something I noticed in the industry that I felt like was, again, extremely lacking. When I was trained, it was literally, okay, get in the truck, follow this guy around for a day. Good luck after that. If you're not producing results, you're probably not trying hard enough. And I find that to be kind of common. And so, whereas with a restaurant, I mean, you have to get trained for 2 weeks to like be able to sell fajitas. For
Right.
$9.99, we're talking about a $30,000 roofing system.
It'd take you like a year just to be able to make rice or something, right? Like a year or 2 years later, now you can make
yeah,
rice.
exactly. I mean, it's something that we want to have the best.
Good point though, man. So like in roofing, you like put an ad in Craigslist and 20 people show up. They drive around in a van and then they kick them out within 2 days. And you're lucky if 2 people last. And then they leave eventually too. And there's hardly any training, but you go to a restaurant, you can't make sushi for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with all our positions, I mean, we want, we make detailed SOPs for every single position. I mean, I'm talking like 10 pages, very granular. Take 8 steps back, now take a photo, and then we turn those into our training program. And you can put that like into Trainual or other types of software. So, we just go down the list, and we don't want to bombard people with people doing training well in roofing. I find are typically cramming it all into 2 or 3 days. If the ones doing it good are doing 2 or 3 days of classroom training from like 9 to 5, and they're throwing 6 months of information to this, person, deer in the headlights, who's not going to retain any of that. So we take quite a different approach. We basically have a 3-month training program. And by the time they get out of that, they really are, I think, experts at roofing systems, residential, commercial, insurance, retail, et cetera, and kind of the way we do things. And so, I don't want, your roof's just so important. And I don't want somebody not being knowledgeable and being able to educate the client out there representing our brand. So we take training very serious.
Right. Well, you've done a lot since 2020. And I personally think, you started at a great time. Right when 2020 hit, I had a couple of clients cancel for no reason. Like I had one guy just shut his business down. I was like, it's like, seriously, you shutting your business down? And everybody was kind of paralyzed there for a little bit. But I guess my point is, it's usually a good time to start a business, like life's so short. You wait around forever. People wait around forever. And I've had a couple of guys on the podcast too. It's like, oh, don't start roofing till you have a ton of money. And I was like, man, what are you talking about? If you had a ton of money, you just go straight to Grant Cardone apartment investing. You wouldn't even have income from your own business. It's like, who wants to have a pass through entity of taxable income when they could just go straight into passive investment income, right?
Yep.
So most people start businesses on a shoestring and get going, even if it's a roofing business, but it's usually a good time to start it. I just think 2020 was ballsy for people to start up, but it was probably the best time in recent history to start a contracting business of any type. So if you were doing any sort of work on a home in 2020, 2021, you're booked all the time. Still to this day, still booked all of it, nonstop, booked.
Yeah, I agree. We've learned a lot. It's been really, really hard, honestly. It's been way harder than we thought it would be, as any business owner will attest to. You go from, you miss being an employee, you're just like, oh my gosh,
sometimes
the days when I got to clock out and not think about work, that doesn't exist anymore. So I run the company with my wife, and it is, you noticed right away. Okay, this is 7 days a week. We're answering the phone at 6 a.m. We're answering the phone at 10 p.m. And we've have a good team now, and we have good systems and processes now, but that's been a struggle and hard to get to. And, it's taken a lot of work.
Really, the struggle doesn't ever really end. I've worked for myself since I was a teenager, some sort. I'm really on my own at about 21, but I was going to share with you a couple of things.
Sure.
My very first thing that I sold was Hubba Bubba and candy. I took it up to middle school in a lunch bag full. I'd buy it and resell it. I made good money doing that one. And then when I was a little older, maybe 13, I did plants in a greenhouse. I had sold hanging baskets to all the neighborhood ladies. And then I did mowing lawns for years, probably a decade.
Yep.
And painted curbs, by the way.
Nice.
And I didn't do curbs at 11 though. My hat's off. I sold gum and candy.
Yep.
And then I also paid my way through community college until I really couldn't handle doing it anymore. I had gone into the alarm business and it was booming. I was like an old man in college too, by the way, at like 26 or 27. In fact, I got what they call a professional development grant because as a 26-year-old white male, I was provided diversity to Texas Christian University or TCU in Fort Worth. So I was diverse because it was 60% 18 to 22-year-old white female at the college. So, but I went for like 2 semesters and my alarm business went nuts after 9/11 and I quit and never went back to school again. But and then I tried some other stuff. And after I got in home security, I bought a quick car lube and tune and I hated it. And that's when I started my digital marketing agency because I couldn't stand it. I paid 1.8 million for a 6, I guess it was an 8-bay double stack quick car Lubinton where we did I couldn't stand it. Had dealing with the people. I thought I was like, oh, I've dealt with hard labor. Not the same people that are running that. Nothing against anybody who worked in, automotive work, but if they changed the oil filter, they were a convict. They were ex-cons. Anybody, you go in and roll over that, and they pull out the oil filter, 9 out of 10 times they're ex-cons. So it was a shock to the system for me managing it. And I went in, I was already older then. I felt like I was anyway. It was late 30s or something then. And I started this business immediately. I was in that business for 2.5 years, but it's always just a step process. I've never really worked for anybody hardly. I will tell you this. You get ruined. I got a new client, a roofer in Florida. He's moving from Tennessee to Florida to semi-retire, but he's like a dynamo dude and he's like 55 and his son's taking over the Tennessee one. But he said he went to Florida and then got sick of it and moved back. And I know what he meant. So because I semi-retired once a little bit, but I wasn't ready financially, to be truthful. I didn't have enough. But when you go buy that retirement home and you don't have a lifestyle set up, it's like, well, now what? And when you've worked for decades as an entrepreneur, and he agreed, you're kind of ruined. So I hate to tell you, Joel, within another 10 or 20 years of this stuff, which will probably go longer than you want it to or think it's going to, you really can't stop at some point. And I don't like whatever you do is going to have to be kind of on and working. I don't work as much in the current business. Like I might do like a 30-40 hour a week, but I also pull another 20 hours, doing other stuff because there's other businesses. The longer you're doing it, there's just more stuff. And so I've got other businesses and more stuff, a software company, I've got a little real estate company, and you're busy all the time, but I enjoy it. And it provides, I forgot who was saying that. It was, who's Mr. Wonderful?
Oh yeah. Kevin O'Leary.
Kevin O'Leary is, being a businessman, being an entrepreneur buys time, is freedom. It's buying freedom. So I went today to a specialty workout. I don't have any big problems, but I went because I saw it on Tony Robbins. I've been reading Life Force by Tony Robbins because I'm 49 and I'm all into biohacking and being healthy. And I went and took one of my kids to OsteoStrong, where you do these heavy weighted workouts to build bone density. Cool. I did that this morning, and I got time, money, freedom, Nolan Walker here with Roofing Webmasters. Guys, we own a digital marketing agency, and I've told you that, but we have another podcast. So if you like Roofer's Paradise, be sure to check out Roofing Webmasters podcast. You can find us on any podcast platform or just search Roofing Webmasters on YouTube or go to roofingwebmasters.com. But check out the podcast for Roofing Webmasters, where we really educate you about anything and everything marketing related online with roofing. Roofing Webmasters podcast. Check it out.
Yeah, we're getting there on those things. When you first started, obviously it's 24/7, 7 days a week. Now we have a good team. We have systems and processes. We're getting our weekends off. We took a vacation. Things still ran great. And You're right. It's fun. It's challenging. There's a lot of adrenaline there. It's addicting. You really can't picture yourself going and just punching in from 9 to 5, because it just doesn't have the same type of excitement. And, kind of in the same boat with you, we're similarly aged, and trying to be healthy. And I'm doing this program called 75 Hard. It's kind of cool. So work out
75 hard.
That's it. Yeah.
All right,
so,
I'm writing it down. What is it?
So here it is. You got to work out twice a day, once indoors, once outdoors, 45 minutes. It doesn't specify. It could be outdoors, could be a walk, a jog, yoga, whatever. So it doesn't really specify the workouts. It's kind of, you got to make that decision for yourself.
Right.
So I lift weights and then I'll go run or whatever. But, but I have friends that do it different. I have a few buddies that doing it with me.
This is way more interesting than roofing, by the way.
Yeah. No, it is. But the way that you live outside of your business does affect your business. And
absolutely.
So being healthy, trying to have less stress, it all is going to matter. And so twice a day working out, once indoors, once outdoors, 45 minutes each, 10 pages of a nonfiction book per day, no alcohol, and you have to stick to a diet. It doesn't tell you what diet to do. You just have to stick to a diet. So like mine is just, no fast food, no fried food, no sweets kind of thing, so eat real food, eat good, healthy, real food, but it's not it's not keto or whatever. It could be for you if you wanted to do that, but it doesn't specify, but that's it. So work out twice a day, once indoors, once outdoors, 10 pages, nonfiction book, no alcohol, and stick to a diet. And it's a lot of fun. And so, it just makes you feel good.
Discipline. I'll tell you some stuff I'm doing, because I think this stuff is fascinating, because there's like 2-3 things I like to do anymore. I'm going to call it 3. I like to run my business, make money. That provides freedom, toys, stuff, legacy, all kinds of stuff. I like to hang out with family, maybe a friend or two. I like, personal relationships, family, and time. And the number one thing, the older you get, is health. I forgot who I was listening to the other day, but it's like a healthy man has 100 dreams. An unhealthy man has 1 dream.
That's right. Yeah.
And so when you get older, you have these things in waves kind of hit you. And it's like right now, like I was working out. So I was doing like 100 pull-ups a day. And I just out of nowhere, I start doing, and I'm doing them properly. I'm doing it, but this is all throughout the day, like 10 at a time, 20 at a time, 25 at a time. And then I'd wear myself out and go, and then I was doing about 400 push-ups, and I was doing the rope pulls. I bought a torque tank from Knees Over Toes guy. You know what that is? Like it's like pushing a sled of weights or pulling a sled of weights. And so I was working on stuff, but I hit myself out of nowhere because I tend to go overboard and everything. I started having tendon issues and other stuff. I'm like, holy crap. And so I start studying, and I go to a functional medicine guy, spending money doing the most I can do. The problem I'm finding, and here's what I started running into, was that the functional medicine people are better than the medical doctor. The medical doctors they're treating symptoms, not causes.
Sure.
Functional medicine guy is going to treat causes. But what I'm finding out, the best I can find in Dallas-Fort Worth, is that they've got modern day blood testing, but they're giving me 10-year-old solutions, which is basically just supplements, right? But I'm into biohacking, biostacking, and other stuff. So I start reading Dave Asprey, Bulletproof Diet, Carnivore MD. Everybody's seen Liver King on social media. You know who I'm talking about, the huge guy that eats liver. If you've seen him, you seen that guy?
I haven't seen him yet, but I'll check him out.
He's massive. He's like a beast, and he eats raw liver. Wow. And he sells raw liver supplements, and he's making a fortune, I think, doing it. But he's literally like this beast. And then I started following this guy named Paul. Salador. It's a Carnivore MD. He goes by Carnivore MD. So I'm doing really similar to Carnivore MD diet. Paul Saladino is Salad INO, SALADINO. Paul Saladino. So I'm eating a lot of fat and a whole body. I'll scoop bone marrow raw out of a cow bone and eat it.
Wow.
I don't think that, yeah, when you get older, you'll do stuff, right?
Sure.
And so
Sure.
I can't stand raw liver. It's horrible. I ate like 2
I'll
ounces
take your word for it.
I ate like 2 ounces and chewed it and tried to swallow it, and it hit the back of my nasal cavity like wasabi, and like burned this nasty iron blood, like just burned this horrible smell, and like it was horrible. But I'll eat a little bit. I can eat chicken liver easier, but I'm kind of doing that one. And then the one that kind of topped it off is Tony Robbins' Life Force. You should read that book.
Yeah.
Because there once at some point in time we all get older, and we're both in Texas, and so I called my brother, and he gives me this, and he's a business guy that makes a ton of money, but most of us have this local country boy attitude, and he kind of gives me this rubbing like, what are you doing? You're an idiot, I'm like, whatever, bro, I'm going to live, man. You can be a fool all you want. Because I called and said, hey, you want to come to Beverly Hills with me? I'm going in September to the biohacking conference run by Dave Asprey, who, if you don't know who he is, he's the one that invented bulletproof coffee. And you probably heard that before. But I'm going to that, and then I'm into all this other stuff. And I'm taking a lot of supplementation, and I moved up out of the functional medicine guy to a biohacking doctor. And so people that will take the most modern stuff, because we're already kind of in the middle of it. I didn't expect to go off on this tangent, but it's really freaking interesting, because I don't know that I'm going to live past 100 years old, Joel, but I can tell you that I already live way better this second than I did like 90 days ago.
Right.
But I take a lot of high-end supplementation, but I'm not doing like metformin or peptides, or I'm not doing pellets or testosterone yet. But there's like a grouping of things that they can do, and then they combine it with stuff like PEMF and like light therapy, and like there's all sorts of stuff that you can get involved in. And the problem with it is it's kind of expensive.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that much into it. I really just am trying to, eat good food, eat healthy. I do think it does start with your diet, and that affects so many things. But, you're right. And it's the same values for me. I mean, I love my company. I love running a business. Nothing I love more than, my wife and my daughter, and spending time with family. Those moments are really precious.
So I got a question. So where are you planning? You're kind of leading that direction. Where you like, what's the goal for 10 years for your family and yourself? I mean, where do you see yourself? Like, I don't mean, just if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, definitely see us just continuing to grow TrueWorks. So, we do have real specific, we have real specific sales goals and targets for 10 years, 4 years, 3 years, yearly, break them down quarterly. And then we really try to really make a game plan on how we're going to hit those. We'd recommend a book like EOS or something for any business owner. It's going to help you kind of EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. And the book is called Traction, that kind of talks about EOS, the system. But it's essentially setting those goals, putting the right people in the right places to achieve those goals. And it's basic kind of things, but most companies don't do all of them really well. But it's really about having great systems, great processes, people in the right places to match kind of their unique abilities, very specific goals that are.
I was going to say that, like, I don't have any problem with any of that. I think people get me wrong sometimes. Like, we have processes, we have procedures, we have specialty software.
Sure.
But I know, after doing this at the age, I turned 50 this year, I know that I'll be involved in some level. Could I walk away for 90 days, for 6 months? Maybe. Can you walk away and not walk back into a small business of any type? Hell no, I don't think so. And people make that, they parrot this stuff back out. But if Elon walks away, Tesla's screwed. If people walk away, now I guess Steve Jobs died and Apple was fine, but Elon's more of a brand than Tesla. I bring him up because he's literally
Mhm.
branded more than the company.
Mhm.
But we're not those companies either. So would Tesla
Very
continue?
true.
Yes. Would would things change? Would our businesses continue? I'd like for someone to show me one. I know there's one here called I can't remember the name of it. There's a really old roofing company. Guy died a long time ago. It's huge. But again, I don't ever hear about them, and but they're huge and they still exist. But you can almost
Yeah.
not find those. Like, is there even one of those in Houston? If there is, there might be like one.
Yeah, I think it's extremely rare. And, I do think that it is kind of a goal to work towards, just that, when people, so, they always say, like, if you can't leave for 2 weeks, right? If you literally cannot and your business would collapse, you really don't have a business. You
Yeah.
are the business. And
Right.
so it's very much like, they talk about that, like in the E-Myth book, another great one, but
Michael Gerber, I think, right?
yeah. I mean, you want to create a business that does operate and run like a franchise, let's say, a McDonald's, Three Pickles, that does run that streamlined, and that you could walk away from, and that could succeed long after you were gone or sold it
For
or
some
whatever.
time, but if you die,
And I mean, you got to do it, and that, I mean, you do it because you love it and you're passionate about it, and you're passionate about your company and your employees and everything. But, like, I don't think we will ever franchise TrueWorks Roofing, but we want to build it in a way that could be. I don't think that we will sell it, but we want it to be valuable and to be acquired. We want to build it after that, in that model, basically.
In that mindset, I'm going to pull this together for you on this thought process. I had a business broker tell me this one time, because I sold that quick car and I learned some stuff. I obtained an SBA loan and I sold that company. In the sale of it, I learned some stuff about business. He said, and someone else had said this, but even if you don't plan on selling your business, run your business like it's about to get sold.
Right.
So that's the point. And the point, if a business, I'm not saying that you don't have structure and people and positions. I'm just merely saying that even the roofing company here in Dallas-Fort Worth that I'm talking about, somebody else is at the helm running the hell out of it.
Sure.
And somebody else owns it now. So the guy may have died, but if somebody hadn't stepped up and they're involved, it still doesn't work. So in a small business, you're going to run it forever in some capacity, but you're going to have more freedom, time, and money as time goes on, but you'll still run it. You're just going to change the nature in which you run. And when it's being built and you're working on it, you run that business like you're going to sell it. If a blue sky business like a roofing company goes up on the market for sale, and what you said, Joel, is that like the business is the individual, it's worth almost nothing. I'm going to call it a one multiple.
Right.
If the business is structured well and has some time behind it and some assets that are still blue sky but valuable, like a website optimization and branding, it might sell for a 3 multiple, 2.5 or 3. And if it's above and beyond that, it might go for a 4 or 5. And for that reason, Joel probably knows this. He doesn't plan on selling it because he can just run it for another 3 years and continue to get time and money and freedom. And he's not old enough to think about it yet. And the only reason you'd even do that probably is if you didn't have time, money, freedom, or your health. Right.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Otherwise, I do think, and if it does run for 6 months and you're like, no, and I can walk away right now, whoever's running that business is going to quit eventually, or something's going to happen to them. And it might take you a very long time to restructure that again, but it doesn't mean you can't try, and you can try to do it. Nolan Walker here with Roofers Paradise. I'd like you to consider being a guest. If you've got a great story to tell for your roofing company, you don't have to be a client of Roofing Webmasters. We'll have you on the show. Check us out at roofersparadise.show. Shoot us an email, or you can call us from the phone number you'll find on roofingwebmasters.com. But I'd love to hear from you and maybe have you as a guest on Roofers Paradise. I've got one thing left I wanted to talk about. Oh, sure. By the way, I always like to ask everybody, you got any weird stories? Weird stuff. I like really weird stuff, good stuff, bad stuff. I've told,
man,
I've got a ton of nasty, bad ones, like people crapping on my front door saying,
okay. I'll go there, I guess, a little bit. So walked into an inspection the other day, and this elder kind of older guy, was completely naked.
Oh
And
God.
that was that kind of shocked me. That was a first for
Was
sure.
it? I've had that one too. When I was mowing lawns when I was a kid, I needed money badly. This
Yeah.
old guy. I'm sorry. Finish your story. Finish your
No,
story. So
I
did
mean,
well, first off, did you continue? Did you keep going?
so I
Where do you
hear,
draw the line, Joel? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we wanted the deal. I continued on. So I hear him yelling out the, who's that? I don't want any roofers on my, and we had scheduled an appointment, but I guess it was with his son, and he's yelling and he says, tell him to come here. And I walk in and he's looking at me and, he says, you're not getting on my roof. I'm like, sir, we're just doing a free inspection. We take a bunch of photos. And he's like, you're not taking any photos of my roof. And he said, you want to take a photo of my, and said other things. And
Seriously.
I was like,
that's uncalled for.
yeah, I was like, sir, we're just here to help, and anyway, we ended up leaving. Obviously, he's not our target clientele, I will say.
Right. So you did the inspection, but not.
We actually didn't. I was cordial, professional, and wished him a good day, and said, "Okay, sounds great. We're gonna go ahead and be on our way. Then we wish you all the best. If you ever need anything, let us know." But that was a first for sure. I had a guy come out in his boxers one time trying to kind of throw me, and we closed that deal, and that was But yeah, I mean, you go into people's homes.
So did you replay that? Like, dang it, Joel, you should have like stood up for yourself and like not dealt with the naked man. Did you like replay how that should have gone?
No, we just laughed about it quite a bit. Me and the guy I was with, and then he asked me to go on another one with him recently. And it's just, well, as long as this client's gonna have all their clothes on.
I had when I was maybe 19. I needed money bad too. I might have been 17. I don't remember how old I was, but there was this guy. So I was mowing this older woman's lawn. She was widowed, and it was in Fort Worth in the Wedgwood area. They're long dead by now. Both of these people, and she had a boyfriend down the street, and people were like 70 something. I mean, I was young, so I probably didn't judge age that well, but she was a nice old lady, right? And I'm mowing her lawn. She said, "Would you mow my friend's lawn?" I was like, "Sure, I'll mow the lawn." And I mow this old man's lawn. He's kind of this crotchety old player bastard guy. I'm sorry. Like this old bastard. And he was always kind of coming out, telling me what to do. And I mowed the lawn about the third or fourth time. And I don't know what his intentions were or anything, but I don't think I handled it wrong. There's plenty of things that I'm like, oh, I should have done this or knocked that guy out or said this or whatever. But this guy comes out with a robe. It was an old plaid robe, and it came down to maybe just above his knees or something. And the robe was open, open. And he starts coming out in the backyard. I'd already mowed the front yard, and I was trying to get in and out of his house because I always felt a little weird around this guy. And he was out on the back patio, and he'd come out once with just completely exposed to this robe. And he did it again. And I picked my mower up and put it back in my truck. I had to take my mower, and I was young and strong. I just threw my mower in the back of my truck, and I left the backyard half done and didn't show up again. But I had that happen.
I think you handled it perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah,
but when you go
to find out what he wanted.
Yeah, exactly. When you go into people's homes, obviously, you meet all kinds of different people. We definitely met a lot of, hoarders and things like that you just can't believe. But it's, it's
appalling how people live, isn't it? And I know
sometimes it is. Yeah. And how
people live.
Yeah. You really walk in surprised. We always joke though. We always say nobody ever wants to call a roofer. They call us in their most kind of stressed out state. And we do get a lot of people call, and they are upset, and they are a little hysterical. They're whatever. But it is rewarding being able to go in there and kind of take that burden off of them, the ones with clothes on anyways, and take that burden off of them and really deliver that great quality job, and then get to see them through, on the other side, smiling as many crazy people as we meet so many good ones too, that are just great human beings, that we're in a stressed out state, that really appreciate what we do, the efforts that we go to, really go above and beyond. And it's fun getting invited to barbecues and getting, invited to, we make friends with these people, and that is rewarding. It is really fun. So you get both, of course.
Well, you're knocking it out of the park, man. I know things are going well. I think really anybody that does this deserves it, in my opinion. I mean, I really, if you keep the mentality that you have right now, you eventually solidify yourself in the area. I know that you're already doing well in Houston, but I really believe that over time, you're going to continue until you're just one of the pack 3 people showing up all the time. And you already do for a ton of stuff, but I'm primary keywords and all that. It will happen over time. I like to say your horse runs much faster than the other horses. Your horses, the older the horse, the better on a marketing perspective from a digital standpoint. Some of those horses are 20 years old already in your market, and yours is 2.5, right? Years old. But he's stronger, better, and runs faster. So he's making up trust and tenure quickly. So it's going to continue to go well. Just continue to do the things that you're doing. I don't really have any suggestions. Sometimes I talk to guys that are kind of new. You're pretty new. I don't really have any suggestions for you on anything. You're kind of doing all of it right. I don't know how you did all this. Maybe we're going manifesting reality in a pretty good way.
Yeah, we're going for it with all of our hearts. We're just being really passionate. We're working really, really hard. We're making a ton of mistakes. We're learning from those. We've gotten great, coaching consultants. I reach out to people all the time. I've noticed in the industry that there is people with a lot of experience who, if you approach them with humility and wanting to learn, they're incredibly generous with their time and expertise and sharing knowledge with you, for free. And I offer to pay, and they're like, no, they love to do it. They love, because go ahead.
Are these people in roofing? Are these roofers?
Oh yeah. I'm talking to now. I do really enjoy, bringing in ideas, even if it's coaching, consultant, systems and processes, things from other industries a lot. I find that, again, kind of what we were talking about, they can be several years ahead of the roofing industry in many things.
Are you in a mastermind group or like a coach group type?
Okay. Yeah. In a peer group, with non-competing owners. I think that's fantastic to do. I'm in all the roofing Facebook groups. I reach out to I'm really blessed with, I've gotten to know a lot of the industry leaders, and, been on a bunch of different podcasts and gotten to talk to a lot of different people. And just by reaching out and befriending people, having humility, wanting to learn. And I do like to offer that back in return. I'm not a consultant. I don't have a book. I don't have a course. I don't have anything like that. If, any of your listeners are roofers and have questions or want help, I don't have all the answers, but if there's anything I can offer of value, offer of assistance, I'm really happy to pay that back and do that. There's those of us in the roofing industry that have fallen in love with the industry, really love it, and hate that, roofing and roofers have kind of gotten a bad name, and we're out to change that, because it is a great industry. And we kind of feel like we're on a team we're not competing against each other. We're competing against the ones that want to be shady or want to not, want to cut corners. It's those of us, even in my own market in Houston, I'm friends with a lot of people there. We feel camaraderie. We do feel like a team. There's 4 million people. We're not competing against each other. We're competing against the riffraff and the guys who are trying to cut corners and be shady. But our goal really is to help elevate the roofing industry to kind of the status and standard that we feel like it deserves. It's a great industry. And so, yeah.
Is it Breakthrough Academy? Is that who you're with?
So I never went through that one. I've heard really good things about it. My friend Armando Jaycox, who owns,
same type of thing as what you're describing for the mastermind, non-competing owners, same.
Yeah, I think go ahead.
I think I don't like about Breakthrough Academy is that they put you with the same revenue people that,
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that one, I believe Randy Brothers, and he owns a really successful company in Colorado, and they started that. I've heard great things. I haven't been through that specifically, but yeah, it is it's a great industry. There's a lot of help out there, and I've been blessed to just reach out and find that. And I just Facebook message and email people all the time. I did, so I was on another podcast, Dave Sullivan, he's awesome, a friend of mine and runs a great one. His guest who was on there previously, I reached out to him. He's running, he's doing 18 million a year in Louisiana. Great guy. George Boudreau, awesome dude, running a great company. And I just reached out asking him for some advice and some help, and I offered to pay. He said no, and then he found a few things that I could help him with, even though he's running a much bigger, more successful company.
I want to say something about this because I find this fascinating. I mean, you can take this discussion all the way back to like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and mastermind groups. Like, I think he was the first one to talk about this sort of stuff. I talked to a guy named, I've got another client named Kenneth Byler of Great Lakes Commercial Roofing. And I think he's 26 or 28 years old, and he's in Breakthrough Academy. But he has some really high up consultant or mentors. Same thing, called them, but I'm guessing you're 40 something. I don't know how old you are, but
43.
Okay. So Kenneth is like 26, but you're like, oh, I can't do it because I'm 40 something. Kenneth is a kid and these guys want to help him. Well, you're 40 something, you're calling help and getting help.
Oh,
and,
sure.
And I think it's great though, because people will find out, oh, I can't do it. So, but this guy's getting the best of the best help. And then you're calling people, and I got my hats off to you, because I've always been kind of shy about it, or maybe low self-esteem, I'd call it. Like, I'm not worthy to call this guy. I feel like I'm one of those guys now to some degree. I am one. I'm a guy that, I would take, I've been thinking, you're making me want to call some people and just to ask, because I have a mentor out of Hawaii, out of Maui, that helped me enter that market. And it was a guy that I had known, but I called him and he mentors me on real estate.
Yeah. You need a coach and a consultant, I really think, and not a guy who's like hasn't done it before and is just kind of selling a course because they flunked out as a roofer, like they couldn't hack it and now they're just selling a course.
Oh, they sold their company. I'm not going to name names. You know who I'm talking about. They sold their company because they didn't like it, but now they make more money hawking, telling you how to do it.
Exactly.
He probably beat me up.
You want to talk to, if you're in roofing, you want to talk to roofers. I mean, you want to talk to people in the trenches and doing it every day. And yeah, it could be maybe people don't do that because kind of, they're in your category, or maybe it's the other side where it's ego or whatever. And, they're like,
self-esteem.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, again, it all comes back to, we're obsessed with the client experience and we'll do anything it takes to get there. And so the focus is on them. It's not on me. It's not on. And so anything I can do to make our company better for our customers, for our employees, I'm going to do, with all my heart. And so, definitely.
I want to say one more thing before we get off here, because we're kind of concluding. I want to point out something that is going unsaid here. Like, you've shared a lot talking right now. You've told a lot of personal stuff and trade secrets and things and how your business operates. And you've done it before on other podcasts and shared, and you're out there a lot. I missed the mark on this until later on in life, that people who get on, because the media thing hit me kind of to where, like, I do media, we help people online, but I wouldn't share personally or give away stuff. People that are on saying, I'll help you if you call me to mentor, I'll talk to you, I'll tell you what we do. They're getting so much more from the universe, or however you want to look at this, because this feels like, reality manifestation stuff. And it feels like to me, when I look at this stuff, that the people that go in and offer the most get the most. You're talking, you said paying it back. People helped you, you want to help people. Sure. And we're also, I would argue too, that you're getting to that age, I'm getting to that age, there's a natural progression of age to where you do help people, but
Sure.
it's interesting to me that people are helping you and you're asking for help, but you're open, honest, and sharing and willing to help people. And to me, your brain wants to tell you the opposite. It's like, hey, Joel, don't tell them that. That's my proprietary trade secret. If everybody starts giving away free car details, that'll take something away from you, but it's opposite. You give away, you offer yourself up to help people, and you actually get more. You participate in everything. Like, I'm trying to do that now. There's another book that I'm reading called, I think it's Michael Singer. I saw him on Tony Robbins' podcast. I heard him on Tony Robbins, and it was about surrendering. And it wasn't that he was just let anything happen, but he goes with the flow. And it's like, hey, if this, you just go with the flow about letting things happen, to quit trying to force it, and great things happen. Part of it's just sharing stuff with human beings, and like, you got stuff to share, and you help people, and you're like fabulously more successful, hundreds of % further down the road, so much faster than the average roofer that I run into. Even the guys that come to me that are there and they're close, but only a couple of guys hit it out of the park like you do. Like, I'm already dealing with the best, but maybe only about 1 out of 10, by the way, just so you know, get to your level and go whoom, 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 and like just ratcheted it up the business.
Yeah, I think I used to, when I first started, I would share a lot. I was real active on LinkedIn. And then I got on one podcast, and then I got on another, and you start meeting people and you start networking, and then, you join a mastermind and you just meet different leaders. You go to their company, you kind of see how they do things. You let other people come to it. Again, it goes back to that. We're on a mission to elevate the roofing industry, and we're all in this together. Everybody who shares that same mission, we are on a team. We're in this together. There's plenty of work for all of us. So there's the ones of us that are trying to do things the right way. We're not going to run out of work. We're not going to run out of roofs that need to be roofed, repairs, so
there seems to be some unwritten law to this stuff, though. This is one of my favorite podcasts, by the way. I Jason, who works with me, say, Nolan, you got to quit rating the podcast at the end of it. But this has been a great one. Kenneth Byler had a guy on named Otis Floyd. He's an ex-Canadian pro football player turned roofer. He's phenomenal. Cool. That one's Otis Floyd podcast, fantastic. Cool. Kenneth Byler podcast, fantastic. And this new one with Joel of TrueWorks has been fantastic. So I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to leave with, that was a great one. I think we covered.
No, I think that's it. I mean, I've had a lot of fun. It's been a blast, and I hope that whoever listening gets some value out of it and enjoys it.
I hope so as well, man. Make some usage of our time at least. But
yes,
all right, Joel, call me anytime, man. I really appreciate you, and I hope you're the best of success on going forward.
Will do, Nolan. I appreciate you as well, sir.